I'm going to tell you something that some of you may not like to hear, but the ones that grew up with my generation know that what I'm talking about is true, even though it seems far-fetched now. But when I grew up, the culture was right wing. It was very Christian. It was the Bush era. And every hobby that you could possibly find, moral busybodies would hate it. Like society would tell you that you're a bad person if you engaged in these hobbies. Heavy metal, it's the music of the devil. Like you're not supposed to listen to it. Goth, same thing. Goth was associated with cemetery, weirdos, bizarre people. Do not do any of that. Dungeons and Dragons, satanic. You cast spells, wizardry, witchcraft, horrible. Anime, psychopathic. There were articles in the newspapers saying how there's an episode in Dragon Ball Z where Frieza impales Krillin with his horn and then sadistically bounces him around while blood comes out. Like, there's no way that you should watch something like that. A sane person doesn't enjoy that type of imagery. They weren't concerned about sexuality, though. Like, Bulma appearing in a skimpily clad swimsuit, like, that was fine. But the violence, they didn't like that. Pokemon, if you say Pokemon backwards, it actually spells worship Satan. I don't kidding. Like, that was the thing. What else did we have? Any type of slasher film? Horrible. Why would you watch that? Why would you enjoy seeing a guy with a knife or a chainsaw chasing young people? Like, are you unhinged? Are you unwell? What type of person enjoys that activity? GTA and most violent video games, they would actually go out and do research into school shooters and shit. They'll be like, oh, this guy played video games. This is why he did it. Some shooters actually use that as an excuse in court, saying that the video games made them do it in order to get a more lenient sentence and, like try to appeal to the jury. It's like, well, I was a sane individual until I played those vile video games. So basically, like, every single hobby was bad. Like, you weren't allowed to have fun. Any type of thing that you did was sinful, satanic. There was something wrong with you, basically. Like, normal people do not engage in these types of hobbies. Like, this is wrong. And you add on top of that criticism that wasn't religious in nature. If you like comic books, like, what, are you a child? Only children like comic books. You grew up, you're not supposed to like comic books. If you like action figurines, those are dolls. Well, why are you playing with action figurines, right? So, like, a lot of moral busybodiness, which causes disgust. It's the only way I can say it. Absolute disgust in the culture. It actually made me and my friends become atheists. And then we had the sadistic pleasure in order to upset Christians, because we viewed that they took something from us, so now it is our moral obligation to take something from them. It's better if the neighbor's goat dies as well, right? And we were like that until the social justice activists appeared, and they started taking our fun as well, and now we switched sides. Please do not do the same mistakes that the people that raised my generation did. Please do not be moral busybodies, or you're going to raise up assholes that will despise you. Do not take people's fun away. They will grow up resenting you, and they will do the best they can in order to take your fun away, and the wheel is just going to turn. Now, the reason a lot of people became leftists is due to the fact that leftism was associated with liberation and freedom. Like, leftism was associated with South Park, it was associated with MTV, it was associated with goth. Basically, they had all the cool shit. So if you want boredom and suffering, you go with the right, that only know what Matt Walsh likes to know, which is fishing and Jesus and Sunday church. So they're the boring squad. Meanwhile, the fun, happy squad were the left, that they tolerate, oh, you're a goth. Okay, well, be a goth. I'm not a goth. I'm into heavy metal, but I have no business with you. You're cool, whatever. That was the left. There was obviously in between. But basically, like, the left would show you titties, right? You got to see American Pie. You got to see Beavis and Butthead. They were all with edgy jokes. They were all going over the top. Hey, look, there's this cartoon. It looks like it's for kids, but it's actually adult. Oh, Kenny dies in every single episode in a very brutal manner because that pisses off Christians, and we're going to do it, right? So, like, you get to feel edgy. You get to feel that you're doing something that you're not supposed to. You're watching this thing, and you know that it doesn't do you any harm, but you're pissing off those moral busybodies by watching, right? So, things like South Park, Red and Skimpy, but many other things. And that's what the left offered, right? So, like, when you dinged 18, chances are you'd vote left. I'm not saying that the things that they offered were good for you or anything like that. But again, like, spite played a big role in it. It's like the previous generation is too uptight, filled with moral busybodies, filled with all these frustrations, and they're attacking things that are harmless. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, I'm playing it. Who cares? It's not real, but it freaked out the previous generation. So now we get to take something away from them. They're older. We get to have fun at their expense, and we get to piss them off as well. This is human nature. I know there will be people in the chat that will be like, no, V, blah, blah, blah. Listen to me. Listen, please. For the love of God, just listen. It's human nature. If someone pisses you off, you want to piss them in return. There is no explanation. No, you can either accept that this is humanity and figure out how to work from there, or you can choose, no, it's not like this, and you're going to be Pikachu face when you realize that I'm right. So, that was the left back then. The left now is all about censorship, removing banter. Anything you do is bad. If you like Stellar Blade, you're probably a misogynist. No, actually, you're a Khmer now. If you're a straight man with any type of sex drive, you're a Khmer. You know, like, it used to be like Khmer was someone that's obsessed with pornography, like, does it nonstop, does it at work, interferes with his life. Now it's simply the owner of Twitch seems to like pictures of women, something that most men can relate. You know, that's a Khmer. It lost all meaning, just like the word incel. Like, if you don't have a girlfriend, you're an incel. You're judged almost every single time for being a man. And it's not fun. Like, they're not creating anything. They're creating the Concords. They're creating the Forspokens. They don't like games that are coming from foreign countries, so they don't like Wukong. They don't like Nikkei. They don't like Stellar Blade. They don't like anime. They don't like anything unless it's woke. Like, that's the only thing you're allowed. You're allowed to listen to their lectures, listen to their sermons while playing their video games. And I asked, it's like, well, what are the 5 things that they give? You know, like, as a heteronormative man, what do you gain from the left? At least with the Christians, you'd get community, I guess. But the Christians were more fun to hang around with than the woke. And that's saying a lot, because it wasn't that fun to hang around with people that were spewing Bible verses at all time, you know? At least the ones that I hanged around with were evangelical, so, like, they were a little bit more interesting. But the woke people, they're insufferable. The woke can't suffer the woke. Like, that's my point. It's like, every now and then you have a woke person that stops being woke, and they tell you how it was like, and they tell you how annoying it was that every single time they would have to step on eggshells, and they go from 0 to 11 when you piss them off, and then they try to do life ruination and to ostracize you from the group and everything like that. So, a lot of people were upset that men weren't voting left, and I'm like, well, what are you offering, men? You're offering absolutely nothing. Nothing. Like, name me 5 things. Again, they used to be for sexual liberation. They used to be for creativity. They used to be for art. They used to be for edginess. And now they don't offer any of that. And they haven't replaced it with anything. That's the problem. So, you know, as a right-winger, my purpose is to offer other right-wingers something. I think I offered them entertainment with this channel. But other right-wingers should think about doing the same. Like, you need to create a culture that's attractive and appealing for young people. I'm looking at anime, for instance, and a lot of anime has right-wing themes. In fact, I would say that I learned more from anime than I learned from church or that I learned from other content creators, Matt Walsh. But what they do, like right-wing Japanese people, when they're making art, they're not making art to criticize the left, they're making art to promote the right. So they're promoting right-wing values such as respecting one's family, the power of friendship, loving one's country. Like these are things that you can find in many animes. And I was actually talking about this. Like very few anime have sex outside of marriage. Like despite the fact that they have fan service, they usually have a kiss, maybe hand holding. But in most mainstream animes, like not the adult ones, but like the most mainstream anime, there's no sex, right? Like in American TV shows, like you'd have sex just popping up all of a sudden for no reason. Just watch Game of Thrones. It's like they're fucking all the time in the first season. They can't wait for an excuse to get the actor to turn the clothes off, right? Meanwhile, in anime, it's like more right wing. Again, you do have fan service. Yeah, you do see some cleavage, you see some boobies bounce, and maybe you see an underwear, but like overall, it's a lot more right wing than you have like TV shows in the West where immediately they start having sex outside of marriage, right? Anyway, my point was that the people that are creating right-wing culture in Japan, they're making culture to show why right-wing things are awesome. And what's awesome is like having your own family, like in Naruto, right? Like he has his own family, he's raising his kids, he's got the other villagers looking up to him. Like all of these things are promoting the right-wing way of life, and they're doing it in a way that's not preachy, that's within the entertainment, within the universe. It's immersive. They're not attacking the left, right? Like Naruto is not going after to fight communists, but again, like the idea that he used to be like this weakling, and then he grew up and he's now powerful and he's able to have the respect of his peers is something that a lot of young men would like, right? Like it's very masculine. It's like the growing up process. I'm not saying that right-wingers should emulate Naruto, but you should consider like creating entertainment that basically creates symbols for people to follow. You know, instead of preaching, lecturing, and attacking people's hobbies and what they like, you should become an example. Like you can actually become a superhero for the younger generation through your actions, through your behaviors, like by having a wholesome life and by creating stuff that you like. Other people may look at you and say, hey, I want to be like this guy when I grow up. And I think like that is a lot more powerful and impactful than just moralizing people and telling them that this hobby is bad, this hobby is evil, that you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, don't behave like this, don't behave like that. Especially when you do it to strangers, that's even worse. Like when you do it to people on the internet that you don't know, it's kind of like asking someone on the street for money and then getting angry when they tell you to fuck off. It's like there's no relationship between you and that person. Why do you think you have the ability to moralize them? Meanwhile, if you have a relationship with the person, if they're your employee, if they're your student, if they're a family member, that's different, right? But even then, it's better to lead by example than to just lecture, moralize, and preach. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.